Okay, this is Moshe coming to you from Israel and Galilee, where I live for many years. And today be the 20th of December. It's almost 10 o'clock in the morning. It's a little brisk here today in Israel. Our weather is sinking more into the winter stuff, which is, the temperatures are not cold, but you get much colder. First of all, we're used to lots and lots of heat, like many, many days over 100 degrees. So, it's 61 now, so that's, like 40 degrees less than what we're used to, So if you're living in a place where your summers are, 75 degrees, and, then it's 35 degrees, you're cold. So it feels like 35 degrees when my hands get really cold. I had to start putting, it's not a real good one, it's a skin cream made out of coconut oil or something. It works, but it's not that good. I got some better ones, I gotta dig them out. I don't get that in the summer. I get that in the winter. Our high will be 68, and we'll have sunshine and partially sunshiny today, which is okay. And tomorrow will be a little cooler, 65 high, Friday 65, and then Saturday and Sunday we're headed for rain. Please pray we don't get a lot of rain. It makes me nuts when we get the rain, trying to manage all the dogs and everything. It's hard. So, we're waiting for people to come in. Let me do a check on the live stream. Make sure everything's copacetic, sound, picture, and so forth. Waiting for people to come in. It looks like we're good. I got a nice Carhartt sweatshirt on with the window open, no heater. I should make it at 60, be alright. It's gonna just get hotter, or not really hot, warmer. Let's see. Beulah's doing house barks. I don't know what she hears some dogs in the street and she thinks, oh, I better respond to that. It's very serious. We kind of left her alone with the barking when we had the beginning of the war because we were worried about infiltrations, and now we're trying to break her off of that. Okay, hang on a minute. Okay. See people coming in. People are coming in. I think we might have a lot of people in the live stream tonight because of what I'm going to explain. Let's start with put my computer glasses things on. Let's do our praise because it's a Bible believing site, and then we'll move into a discussion about what's going on in the wars in the Middle East. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay. Since we're gonna expose not expose, we're gonna I'm gonna teach on and show you the prophecy about Yemen, which is cool, and you'll like that. It'll come up in a few minutes. We'll talk about Yemen. So we heard there was 19 countries now that have joined the coalition with America to patrol the Red Sea. I don't know the right word. Patrol seems to work. To prevent the Houthis in Yemen from continually attacking ships. 6 of the world's very largest shipping companies that move containers and tankers and grain, oil, and many things have refused to go into the Red Sea temporarily. The Houthis said, oh, you have nothing to worry about. We're only going to attack ships that have something to do with Israel. Well, their interpretations of something to do with Israel are pretty seat of the pants. Some Israeli owns a small percentage of the company that leased the ship to another company that's hauling freight for another company, and they want to destroy the ship. Or they think the ship is going to Israel or from Israel and it hasn't, so nobody trusts that. So the 6 large shipping companies, and it could be higher, and I imagine in a day or two it'll be more than that. There's probably smaller shipping companies that have, 5 ships or something that won't go through there either. So the option is go around Africa, which is approximately a 2-week trip, and you burn a lot more fuel. So the cargo's jammed up for 2 more weeks. The crew's salaries are being drawn down for 2 more weeks. The ship is tied up for 2 more weeks. So rates have to be raised. Right? And raising the rates means price advances on goods in the stores. Now, America, I don't think, is seriously affected by this, but Europe is, especially the countries that are down by the Mediterranean. And of course, it's affecting Israel. So, we were told 43 ships already in the area near Yemen, warships from different countries, and 50 more are coming. I don't know if they're going to get that many, but it seems that they'll probably get, I don't know if there really are 43 ships. I don't know. But I imagine there'd be at least 25 to 50 ships to deal with this, warships. Now, not every country wants its name revealed as to being in this coalition, probably because they're trying to avoid terrorist attacks in their country for doing this. But how they're going to conceal it? They flag their vessels, So, I mean, you're going to know this boat's from, blah, blah, blah country, So I don't understand that too much. Why does some country that's, 3, 4, 5,000 miles away have warships in the Red Sea along with America, And Israel has some ships down there. Now, I don't know if all these ships can take down missiles and drones yet, But let me tell you what the Houthis have done, and I believe they've already done this. Put naval sea mines in the area. Now, we need to have a little talk about what a sea mine is. In World War II, it was this great big round thing that had spikes, which were really like detonators, and when they contacted something, they'd blow up. So if Moby Dick swam by and the thing hit Moby Dick, it might blow up. But again, it may not, because Moby Dick's skin wouldn't be that hard, but who knows? They didn't care. I don't ever remember reading about whales getting blown up, or sharks, or big fish, but who knows? Maybe they did. They probably are pretty good in the water. That's where they live, and they probably avoided something like this. Especially it was on the surface, and they didn't swim around on the surface a whole lot, and they probably didn't know what it was, so they just stayed away from it. It's not a naturally occurring thing like a reef or something, so they avoided it, I guess, but who knows. And that's going to stop every shipping company from going through the Red Sea. Nobody's going to go through it. So the way they do the mines today is usually they're under the surface. Now, they're not 500 feet. They might be, 20 feet, 40 feet. Some of them maybe even be down 60, 100 feet. And they're usually 1,000 to 2,000 pounds of explosives. So they have some batteries or something in there. They might have a battery that lasts a month. It could be a battery that's, a huge thing, And there's no size limitations on these things. So they could put a battery in there that might go for 3 or 4 months or 6 months. And the thing pings, like with an electromagnetic bounce back thing, And when it detects a big metal object overhead, it explodes, and the percussive force shoots up and hits the boat where it's not very strong at the bottom of the hull. And, you could have a 5,000 pound mine too. So, you could put a 20,000, whatever you want to do. There's no size limitations. You're in the ocean, okay? So they put a large mine up there, and the percussive force blows the ship up out of the water. It pushes it up, and it could break the hull. And I understand that if the boat's empty, it's more vulnerable, but it's probably going to work anyway. That's a deep below the surface. Now they can put them, most of these ships are going to be, when they're loaded up, probably 25, 35 feet in the water. The hull's going to be down that far, so they could put a mine 15, 20 feet under the water, and it just does it with contact. Usually when a ship hits a mine, it's generally pretty devastating. A lot of it has to do with the size of the ship, how it's constructed, what it's carrying. If it's carrying missiles or, explosives, it's going to be much worse. Ships hit mines and survive, and crew doesn't get killed. It can happen. And other things is they hit mines and it blows holes in the ship, and the ship catches on fire and starts sinking at the same time, and people that are in the boat near where the mine exploded are frequently going to get killed from the force of the explosion. And the ship can rapidly sink, and they got to get off the boat in life preservers. Now, the Houthis are probably not loitering around there waiting for this to happen, so they probably send out distress signals, and many other ships today would be headed over there to rescue them. So they might only be in the lifeboats for minutes or hours, not days, So even if they just made it to the lifeboats, and most lifeboats today, I think it's by law, have to have inside the boat, called a survival kit. The more sophisticated ones are made out of some heavy polymer. I've been in them, and they have a cover. They're enclosed, and people sit on benches crammed in, and they have no bathroom. You probably use, I don't know how they do that. If they're there a long time, they probably climb out of the thing if the water's not rough and use the ocean, I guess. I don't know what else you would do. And they have survival kits in which they'll have rations of water, a medical kit, probably some type of battery operated radios. They have life preservers for everybody in the boat, but most of them will get into the boat with a life preserver on. They have generally a diesel or other kind of gasoline powered motor, so it could actually move around some. They're not going to go 40 knots, but they might go 10 or 12 knots in the water. They might have a heater in case it's real cold. This I don't know from. But you probably aren't going to freeze to death so easily there because it's all enclosed and all those people in there are going to make a lot of body heat. But if you're in water, you know, that's 36 degrees with a 20-mile-an-hour wind, it could be rough. So these boats don't capsize, and they won't go on their side, and they don't really sink very easily. You'd really have to go to work to sink one of these things. There's boats, you know, where they take them and they saw them in half, fishing boats, like 20, 30-foot boats. There's a guy who makes them, I forget his name, and he has commercials where they saw the boat in half. It's a cabin cruiser. And both halves stay afloat. So that's how they do it with this. They probably have a double hull and they put something in there that's highly buoyant, you know. And you don't have to worry about waves washing you out of the boat or heavy rains because you're enclosed. And the crew guys operate the boat through windows. And they usually have wipers. They're expensive little things. And they probably have those on a lot of the commercial boats. So it's child's play, you know, to get in the boat, and they have an electric winch that lowers it into the water. And they could easily stay there if they had to 24 hours, but I think you're probably looking at 1 to 3 or 4 hours till help comes, you know. Now this is a game changer. Now what America has to do now is bring a bunch of minesweepers in, which there were some in the Middle East recently. There was 2 from another country down here. That's probably insufficient. They're probably going to need a dozen or so, or more, to rapidly get the mines. And the Houthis can continually keep laying the mines. Okay? So you best believe there aren't going to be any maritime ships or fishing ships or pleasure yachts and pleasure sailing boats going anywhere near there right now. They are going to be attacking targets that they know the GPS coordinates for in Yemen. They'll probably attack them with a combination of aircraft from the Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier down underneath Yemen there. I think they call it the Arabian Sea or the Sea of Oman down there, but they're down by the Red Sea, not the Persian Gulf. I think they have 2 different names for that or something. And they'll also shoot missiles, probably when the Houthis launch something that's a threat to the ships. These warships will launch missiles at the site, where the aerial threat originated from. Because it'd take too much time to launch planes and get them over there, they won't be there anymore. But they could get missiles into that area pretty quick, and the idea would be to blow the missile launchers up and the guys launching it to create fear. So they'll try taking down the threats with their anti-aircraft missile, anti-missile missiles on the boats, and then they'll launch probably cruise missiles which are highly accurate at the exact location it was launched from, probably several. Now, is all this going to work? Well, in a nutshell, partially only. They launched 14 drones at a Navy ship. That's a swarm attack. Okay? Now, you got to understand, they could buy a drone for $2,000 and put an improvised explosive device on it and fly it into ships as a suicide drone. So they could launch 25 or 40 or 50 of these at the same time at one ship. And the ship is high probability not going to have enough anti-missile missiles or anti-aircraft missiles to take them all down. In addition, at the same time, they could launch missiles at that ship, maybe 2 to 4. And at that same time, if it's within range, they could try to hit it with artillery, which is very hard to take down. It's a very small target. It moves very fast. Very hard to take it out. You talk about something like this. So America uses $2 million missiles to take down $2,000 drones, or let's be generous, $10,000 drones. You get a good drone for $10,000, An improvised explosive device is, a few $100, But you're not going to break the Bank of America. They just turn the printing presses on, so that's not going to stop America and these other countries either. They just turn their own respective printing presses on. So it's going to only stop some of the attacks. We saw the tunnel network and underground bunkers that Hamas had. Hamas is affiliated with Houthis, they're friends. So if you haven't considered that the Houthis too will have tunnels and underground bunkers and bunkers in sides of mountains and stuff like that, consider it again, because I'm quite certain they have an extensive network of this. So the only way America's really going to stop them, is to go in on the ground, and that would probably take an American coalition a month to knock everything out, but they're probably at least a month away from doing something like that. So you better believe that the problems with Yemen are going to continue for a while. Now, I could be wrong. America might start launching many hundreds of missiles at Yemen, and that's certainly going to knock them off kilter, I don't know when they're going to start attacking the Houthis. I have a feeling you'll probably see it by the weekend or the end of the weekend. Because they're in a hurry to stop this. Many nations don't want this going on. The Panama Canal is also quite screwed up due to drought, although it's recovering a little. The wait times are huge. So if you don't have the Panama Canal and you want to go from Atlantic Pacific or Pacific to Atlantic, you got to go around South America, and that's typically about a 2-week journey. So it increases more prices. So that's already going on, and that's not attributed to the Houthis or the axis of evil. Okay? Now, so they have a good chance of attacking launch sites when they launch missiles. The Houthis. They have a poor chance of getting them where they launch drones because it's easy to launch drones and then run away, go into a tunnel, or just have a car there, an SUV or motorcycles, and you launch your drones and you get on your vehicle, and in a matter of seconds you're hundreds of yards away. So after some weeks of frustration, they're going to have to go in by ground to shut this down. It's rather likely the Houthis may try to attack Saudi Arabia unless Saudi Arabia joins them, which is another highly possible, not extremely likely, but a possible occurrence. Remember, Shiva is actually Yemen. And Saudi Arabia in the Bible is actually Arabia. Saudi means, it's the family name, and the Saud family. And the I guess in Arabic means belonging to. So basically they're telling you that Saudi Arabia is the company store for the royal family. Many years ago, I knew the Saudis, I'm talking maybe the 80s, the Saudis used to pay people in Saudi Arabia that were citizens that didn't work, they'd give them stipend back then of about $1,000, $1,200 a month, more if they had a big family. I don't know if they still do that today. I haven't researched it. But it's basically a dictatorship calling itself a royal family. And they just pass the ownership of the company, of the country, onto their descendants. That's all. And the royal family is immune from any civil and criminal prosecution. They don't have to obey the laws. They could rape, plunder, pillage, murder, whatever they want. Who's going to do anything to a royal family? It's the same like this all over. And they have, Secret Service people that'll go assassinate people for them and all of that, typically. The Shiite Muslims don't believe in this business of dictators and kings running the country. They believe there should be an equal distribution of the wealth to the people. And the leader of the country should be it's called a caliph, and he should be half religious leader and half civil leader. And they don't do that either. So they're pretty fond of getting rid of dictators and the people having the wealth. Of course, when you look at what Hamas does in Gaza, they behave like the worst of dictators. I'm thinking. So you'll probably see several weeks of futility of trying to stop the Houthis. They will reduce it some, not that much. And then they'll figure they got to do boots on the ground, and that'll be a rather large force. There would have to be a dead bones bare minimum of probably 40,000, 50,000 soldiers. But they have a coalition that would contribute partners, so it's not all coming from America. They would probably use expeditionary force Marines with the landing ships to set up a beachhead in Yemen on the Red Sea. After several days of bombing and missile attacks to make sure there's no installations anywhere near these guys. And then they would probably also do land incursions from Saudi Arabia if the Saudis let them, which we don't know if they would. I don't know. That's a hard question to answer. My guess is probably. Then they would basically be doing a scorched earth. They would find that out pretty quickly. We've located and disabled 1,500 entrances / exits from the Gaza network, tunnel network. 1,500. You got to understand the mass complexity of this thing they built. And if you think the Houthis don't have a similar network on the ground, you're kidding yourself. Why would they sit there and taunt the Americans if they didn't? Because they know they can go underground and be safe and continue to pop out like Hamas did with launchers and get launches going and then run back underground. It'll be a nightmare for the coalition to go in on the ground. It'll only take them. Israel's just about got it contained at 73 days or so. Probably take the Americans and the coalition 4 to 6 weeks. It'll go much quicker than Israel because they got more. There'll be a lot of them with much better equipment and support. So, that's what you're going to see. Lebanon, you're going to see as the Hamas war winds down, which it's rapidly doing, Israel's going to go into Lebanon. And push the Hezbollah back to the Libni River, a 15-mile distance as a buffer zone. That'll be a fight that's not going to take that long, 2 to 4 weeks. I don't think we're going to suffer very many large, sophisticated missile barrages from Lebanon. What we hear, I think, is just Lebanese or Hezbollah propaganda. I don't think they have that many good missiles. I really don't. So that's going to happen, but some missiles will get taken out. And it could rapidly expand. And we'll go through the prophecies for Lebanon and Yemen in a minute. I'm going to get myself a cup of coffee, if you don't mind. And it's instant coffee, and I have a turbo-powered water boiler that's extremely fast. So let me get my coffee because I need it. Pray for my strength, stamina, and endurance during the broadcast. You'll really enjoy this. Sorry guys, made myself a cup of soup as well. So, regarding Yemen, the Israeli people in Hebrew, modern Hebrew you would have to say, call Yemen Taman, with Teman. Yemen, Teman, Taman, Teman. It's transliteration, so you can't get highly accurate. So what the word means is south. Okay, because Yemen is super far down south. It's at the end of Arabia there. Okay? So there are prophecies about that they don't talk about because they don't want you to know it. And for us, they're all good. You know? So what I'm going to do is show you those prophecies right now. Oh, we do have a, well, it's not a prayer request, it's a toss request for MM to toss. Mike, MM, toss. Now, because we're tossing with initials, we know the Holy Spirit and the Lord actually do the toss, but you might want to say, I command you unclean spirits to come out of MM immediately, B'Shem Yeshua HaMashiach, and then ask the Lord in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach to make sure this comes to pass. Because the demons might just say, well, we don't know who MM is, but it'll work. One way or the other, it'll work. I don't think you really need to tell the Lord, but it doesn't hurt to ask the Lord, but it doesn't hurt. Okay. It's in Ezekiel 20, verse 45. And I've avoided teaching on this for a long time, some of you might remember. Because the Lord never wanted me to. Today, He did. I got up about 5 this morning and started working. So it's 10:43 now, so I've been working for hours. That's why I wanted an extra cup of coffee. It reads like this: Moreover, the word of the Lord of Jehovah came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face towards the south. Now the word for south is Strong's number 8486, which is Teman. And that's referred to as Yemen in Hebrew. Well, the English is Yemen, okay? Son of man, set thy face towards the south, and drop towards the south, Now, this word for south here is a different word. It's darom. So, yeah, Teman really is Yemen. Okay. So it says, set thy face towards the south. It's saying, set thy face towards Yemen. It's what it's really saying. And Strong's doesn't really bring that out. He probably doesn't know it. And drop the south, and drop toward the south, and prophesy against the forest of the south field. Now, this word for south here is Negev. And that's the desert down near Gaza. It goes further, so I guess it's speaking the Negev area. And say against the forest, and the forest word is Ya'ar. And Strong calls this yeah, it has something to do with trees like a forest. That's probably a decent translation. So the forest of the south, and that's the Negev field. So that cultivated field. Flat field. We can go with field. And say to the forest of the Negev, hear the word of Jehovah. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I will kindle a fire in thee. Now the word for fire is correct. It's ash. And it shall devour, and the word for devour probably would be better translated as consumed by fire, or we would probably say burn up or burned. Could even maybe stretch, feed with fire. It's going to get burned up. Because you're dealing with the word kindle, fire, and devour, which is a word that often could mean eat up. Like I devoured the steak, Okay? All right. It shall devour every green tree in thee, and every dry tree. The flaming flame shall not be quenched, and all faces from the south, faces from the south, which is, that's the from word, hold on. It doesn't really say south, it says all face, it does here, Negev. Now, it's referencing the Negev here with trees and forests. The Negev that's in Israel near Gaza is the desert. Let's dig into this Negev word a little deeper. Oh, it also means South Country. Okay, I got the idea. So it's saying the South Country, which is Teman, which is Yemen. which biblically is Sheba also. Okay? Towards the north is Israel, shall be burned thereof. Scorched earth. And all flesh shall see that I, Jehovah, have kindled it, it shall not be quenched. Then said I, Ah, Lord God, they say of me, doth he not speak in parables? Okay. Much of the prophecies in the Bible are really kind of like parables, so they're hidden in disguise. And the regular people and the church people don't get it. The churches have another gospel. They have varying other gospels. They don't follow the true Bible. So, this is what's going to happen in Yemen. Now, how could this happen? Well, very easily. All these ships could drop 2,000 or 3,000 or more missiles and bombs, maybe 8,000 or 10,000 or more, into Yemen, and it'll burn. Now, if they got tunnels and underground bunkers, probably some of you remembered I told you that you could just, Israel won't do this because they're afraid of public opinion, but you could just take a few dozen gasoline tanker trucks. The trucks they use to fill up the gas station at the 7-Eleven with, right? Those things. Drive them over to the tunnels, take the hose out, and drop, 10 or 12, empty 10 or 12 trucks into one of the tunnels, entrances, and then have the Marlboro man ride over on his horse and flick a cigarette. I'm being joking now. But you just basically drop a match in there. And I'd be real interested to see what would happen. You'd probably have some sort of a firebomb. Now, Israel can't do it, but the coalition might do it to get them out of the tunnels and underground bunkers. But a place is probably going to look like, when you have a forest fire catch on, like you had in America many times, and it burns for months. It's probably something like that. I don't think it's going to burn for eternity. It's going to burn for a long period of time. And when do you think this will happen? Days? Couple of weeks is not going to be a long wait. The ships are there and they're pouring in. America has a lot of military resources in Jordan. Saudi Arabia, which are right, next door, right? Aircraft, bombs, they got B-1s, B-2s, B-52s, F-22s, F-35s, F-15s, F-16s, who knows what else, all kinds of helicopters that shoot rockets. Why the Houthis did this is because Iran and the other axis of evil, China, Russia, North Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, and Belarus, and probably a few others. They want this. They want the snare. They want America to deploy a lot of military assets in the Middle East, but they prefer that Iran doesn't get attacked on the homeland. Okay? And Iran, called Persia in Gog and Magog, which is the next war after Zechariah 12, there'll be quite a few years in between, I think. Maybe as much as 8 or 10 or something like that, 12, somewhere in there. And they're in that war, so they're not annihilated. I think it would take America to invade Iran and get rid of everything that they have underground. It'd probably be a year or more. Prophetically, we don't have enough time. So I don't think a lot's going to happen with Iran. China, working the snare, has managed to get America to deploy a quite substantial amount of resources into the Pacific area by Taiwan, Japan, South Korea, and so forth, without firing a shot. So America has a lot of resources in the Pacific. Now, the way the plot's going to work is they're drawing America into different places in the Middle East. Iraq, Syria, now Yemen, and they already have military resources. They have 13,500 in Kuwait. That's absurd. As Americans, do you care what happens to Kuwait? A bunch of pig dictators? Horrible, miserable people. You worried about them? The Saudis are also horrible, miserable people. And if there's 13,500 troops now in Kuwait, there's probably 27,000 troops in Saudi Arabia. And they got, I think, about 5,000 in the UAE, and they got thousands in Bahrain and Qatar, or Qatar. Qatar's an enemy of Israel, and so's Kuwait. So's UAE, so's Saudi Arabia, so's Jordan, so's Oman, and these are all countries that America's protecting. They hate us, but they're afraid to attack us right now. Just because they're afraid to attack us doesn't mean that they're friends. They're afraid to attack us. I'm pretty sure America's going to attack Iran, but it might be that the Persian Gulf lights up. Now remember, Iran could light the Persian Gulf up by Iraq, so thus have America deploy a lot of assets to invade Iraq, which wouldn't be very difficult for America to do. They've done it before. And Iraq could hit the Persian Gulf just about as easily as Iran. There's not a great deal of difference. So the Saudis are scared. But remember, Edom is really in Saudi Arabia. Go look it up in Google. The biblical Edom is in Saudi Arabia, up in the northern part. It's not in Jordan. Ramon is definitely in North Jordan. That's the capital. And Moab, I believe, is also in Jordan. I'm not 100% yet. It could be in Saudi Arabia. I'm trying to dig deeper into that. So it's definitely... So this is what we're going to see happen in Yemen. And look how close we are to it. Now, they're probably any day now going to start engaging the Houthis, when they launch drones or missiles or shoot artillery, they're going to return fire, I believe. They might launch $2 million missiles to do it, or $10 million missiles, or they might go with $10,000 bombs and jets off the Dwight D. Eisenhower. The Houthis have no air defenses. Now, what about anti-ship missiles that the Houthis tout? If you're talking about hitting maritime vessels with no defenses, yes, it'll work. But if you're talking about hitting Arleigh Burke-class destroyers and missile cruisers and aircraft carriers, oh boy, I don't think they're going to be that effective. They have to swarm attack these boats with massive swarm attacks. What happens if they do take down a destroyer or a missile cruiser? Well, then America has all the justification it needs to go to war with or without Congress. But taking out an American Navy vessel is an act of war, so they'll go to war. And Iran's going to take some damage, but I don't think they're capable of doing a ground invasion of Iran. It would take, at least 500,000 soldiers, hundreds of aircrafts, 3 to 5 or 6 aircraft carriers, and thousands of tanks and helicopters. I don't think they can do it. They're afraid. America is now NATO is now sending troops into Finland. See, Russia doesn't fire a shot against Finland, and he gets the Americans in NATO, they're going to be part of it, I guess, to put troops up in Finland, Denmark, and then will come Latvia and Lithuania, and probably Norway. And, America may actually have to either let Ukraine go to the Russians or actually put troops there. And I think they'll put troops there before they let Ukraine fall. So America will be over-deployed in the Middle East, over-deployed in Europe, over-deployed in the Pacific. They've got troops down there with Venezuela and Guyana. I don't know how many, but I imagine it's by now over 10,000, because Venezuela's Congress said that, they were annexing 2/3 of Guyana. Curiously, the 2/3 with lots of oil fields. And America already has troops there. I believe it was yesterday the American base in Iraq near the oil, was it Syria or Iraq? I can't remember. Could have been with Syria, got attacked again. So they skipped days, but Iran's puppets in Iraq and Syria are still attacking America. The bases in Iraq and Syria. They've promised to expand those attacks, and they will. When they get it together, they'll try attacking the American bases in Saudi, Oman, Jordan, UAE, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and start taking those down also. That will cause America to bring many thousands more troops and equipment to the theater in the Middle East. And that's all being done without Iran taking one single bullet. They're clever. Biden's not. Well, these generals that go to war colleges multiple times and have studied war for their 30, 35-year careers, might have a good sense of what they're doing, but they need to get the White House and the White House administration to go along with it, and that frequently never happens. So they could see all these mistakes coming to pass, and there's nothing they can do about it because the politicians are idiots when it comes to war, and they're making the decisions like Hitler. No Nazi general would have invaded Russia at the same time they were invading a bunch of European countries with the Russian winters and everything. They never would have done that. That was Adolf thinking with his big head that he had more brains than the generals did. The generals would probably either completely pull out of the Middle East and just jettison it, or act extremely aggressively. You wouldn't see them do what they're doing. The generals know that the behavior America is displaying is going to push the Muslim terrorist-oriented factions in the Middle East to hit them even harder because they see weakness. So America has ships and aircraft carriers here. What do we care? They're afraid to use them. The next statement would be, okay, so they use them. What do we care? We got tunnels and bunkers underground. This is the new warfare, and I have no reason to believe at all that Yemen hasn't already dug in. Look at their behavior. If they weren't already dug in with tunnels and underground bunkers, it wouldn't be so cocky. They know they're irritating the whole world. Iran's not going to be able to mobilize 500,000 soldiers with tanks and air support and planes and helicopters and Navy ships and go down to help Yemen. Nothing like that's going to happen at all. Nothing even close. Yemen figures that the damage they're going to take from American bombs and missiles isn't going to be that significant. It's not going to deactivate them. They also probably don't see America blowing out their electrical grid and their water supply and bombing civilians. They might be wrong. So they're not very afraid. Or they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. Now remember, they're using artillery now, and that's enough to cover most of that pincher point that they have the entrance to the Red Sea from the Sea of Oman or the Arabian Sea, whatever you want to call it. It's not a very big opening, and artillery can easily go 25 miles. North Korea has artillery that goes 40 miles. They have a rocket-propelled booster on the artillery shell. But I would think 25 miles is more or less the norm, and that's enough. And I don't think the anti-ship missiles are going to do a very good job at taking down artillery shells, if they even can take them down. The thing is, there's going to be no ships to shoot at for a while. So what's America going to do? Attack the Houthis. Because if they say, okay, the Houthis stop, let's go home, then they'll start attacking ships again. So they got to do a kind of a preemptive attack, although it's not really that, and neutralize Hamas, Hezbollah, and that's Hezbollah. I keep saying the wrong thing. Neutralize the Houthis, and that's going to involve a ground invasion. And that'll play out like Vietnam, where they kept more troops, and, you know, eventually they had over 1 million troops in Vietnam. And it's likely some more ships are going to get hit by the Houthis. It's likely Iran's not going to send any manpower down there, but they will probably keep feeding them weapons. And Iran keeps perfecting, or improving, I should say, their anti-ship missiles. So they can get the missiles up to a level where they can take out American Navy and British Navy warships and French Navy warships. America has 2 aircraft carrier groups here now, the Gerald Ford in the Mediterranean and the Dwight D. Eisenhower down by the entrance to the Red Sea, but off a ways to the east, to keep out of range of the Yemen missiles. And there's a 3rd aircraft carrier group on its way from Singapore, which will probably, I guess about 10, 12, 14 days to get over. Now, when you start seeing 4 or 5 aircraft carrier groups, and then they might really be gearing up to hit Iran. Now, that being said, America has 3 here, so they might ask Great Britain to send one, which they might do, and ask France to send one. India's here with some warships, and they might send a aircraft carrier here too. The advantage of the aircraft carriers is they could keep the planes close and fly sorties over the country rather rapidly. In response to attacks by ships, on ships. And the idea is to hit the location of the launch as quick as you can, so you could blow the launchers up and you could blow the crew up and try to stop it. They probably have launchers that'll work from underground. You know, what Hamas did is they dug a pit, maybe 25 feet long, something like that, 4 or 5 feet wide and about 6 feet deep. And they put multiple missile launches in there, and junkie missiles, and they aimed them. And then they got out of the pit and triggered it with electronic signal to launch. So you can put artillery in these pits. You can put drone launches, missile launches, all kinds of things in there. And the only way the coalition is going to be able to damage that is to get a direct hit on this pit. And that's not so easy. If you land near the pit, the shrapnel and the blast is going to fly, but it's not going to bother anything underground. It might blow dust and rocks in there, dirt, pebbles, but that's about it. All right, let me check the chat. Now we know what's going to happen in Yemen. Let's talk about some other things now. This is something I want to cover with you. Genesis 15:13. This is taught as a Bible error. It's not. And he said unto Abram, know of surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. He said several things. He said that they're going to be a stranger in a land that's not theirs. We're talking Egypt here. And they shall serve them. So far he said two things. They're going to be a stranger in a land that's not theirs, and shall serve them, being the Egyptians. Then he goes on to say that they, meaning the Egyptians, shall afflict them 400 years. Now the word for afflict is Strong's number 6031, Anah. It's looking down. It's speaking of the slavery. So they're going to be afflicted for 400 years. Okay? Afflicted. Now we go to Exodus 12:40. Now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. Now, the evil pastors have been teaching that this is a Bible inconsistency and an error. It's not. The explanation is dirt simple. They were in Egypt 430 years, and the first 30 years they weren't being afflicted. They were probably being well treated. That's all it is. The first passage doesn't say they'll be in Egypt 400 years. It says they'll be afflicted 400. And then Exodus 12 says that they'll dwell in Egypt 430 years. It's not that hard to understand. And they call it a Bible mistake to create doubt in your faith. Okay? Matthew 24:24. I want to open this up to you. Now, I'm going to offend a lot of people here, I think, but I don't care. Truth is the truth. Matthew 24:24. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. So you're not supposed to fall for this. The ones that are not the very elect do. Many are called, but few are chosen. Broad is the way, and many find the road to destruction. Straight and narrow is the correct path, and few find it. Now, we know the beast and the false prophet will do signs and wonders. Okay? Now, is the beast going to call himself Christ or Jesus? I don't think so. Is the mark of the beast the cross? The beast the cross? No, I don't think so. Okay. False Christs. Now, let's break this down. Shall arise false Christs. And the word for... We need to break the words down here. The word for false Christs is one word. Okay? You know how they lie to you? And it's pseudo-Christos. And they make it into two words. Is it really saying a false Christ? Well, what it's literally saying is a false anointed one. Christ comes from Christos, which comes from the Hebrew word Mashiach, which means anointed. So, it's just saying, there shall arise. How do you deal with this? It's just so translated badly. See, I'll tell you what I don't think it's going to mean. I don't think you're going to see a lot of people walking around saying, I'm Jesus Christ. Okay? What I think you're going to see is people walking around saying they're anointed, that are false believers, and they're going to be promoting a false Christ. If the beast and the false prophet together hold the beast out to be Christ, well, that would be basically one or two people doing it. So I think this is the church Jesus. The December 25th one. And the false prophets, well, 2 Corinthians 11:4 says that they have another gospel, they have another Jesus, and they receive another spirit. And the false prophets, if you just go in social media or look around, you'll see people making this stuff up, that they had a special prophetic dream. And it's not from the Lord, they didn't. And they're making it up, and they're a false prophet. Others will tell you they had a vision, and they saw some end times battle or something. They didn't. And they're going to, that basically is also a false prophet. And others will hold themselves out as a prophet or an apostle. That's a false prophet if he prophesies, which they do. Okay? So it might not be the tribulation with the beast and the false prophet. But because they're going to show signs and wonders, it definitely would include those two characters. But we have loads of false prophets and false teachers today. I hope that was helpful, and move on. Zechariah 2:4. And said unto him, Run, speak to this young man, saying, Jerusalem shall be inhabited as towns without walls, for the multitude of men and cattle therein. I forgot why I put that in there. But it's a good prophecy of the future, not the short-term future. Okay, let's go to Zechariah 9. We'll do the whole one. The whole chapter. All right. The burden of the word of the Lord, the land of Hadrach and Damascus. Damascus, potato. Okay, Hadrach. I believe this is Syria. Yeah. Hadrach is Syria, Damascus is Syria. It shall be the rest thereof, when the eyes of man, as of all the tribes of Israel, shall be towards the Lord. This is a confusing wording. It says, Hadrach and Damascus, the rest thereof. The rest. The rest. It's like a resting place, is what it's really saying, okay? Thereof which the eyes of man, as of all the tribes of Israel, shall be when they're towards the Lord. Now, when they turn towards the Lord, all the tribes of Israel is Ezekiel 38 and 39, the great day of the Lord. Okay, now verse 2. And Hamat also shall border thereby Tyrus and Zidon, though it be as very white. Well, Tyrus is in Lebanon. Zidon, Strong's number 6721. Sidon. No, it's a Palestinian son's name. In the sense of catching fish. I believe it would be in Lebanon. And Tyrus did build herself a stronghold, and heaped up silver as the dust, and fine gold as the mire of the street. Behold, Jehovah will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she shall be devoured with fire. That's the city in Lebanon. It's probably not the whole Lebanon. So, you know that war is coming quickly. Will America join in with Israel? I don't know. I don't know yet. Behold, the Lord will cast her out. He will smite her powers. And that means the people are probably going to leave. What do you think it means? Cast her out. Yeah, they'll probably revert to Israel. They'll get kicked out. And he will smite her power in the sea. Well, Lebanon has a little navy. And she shall be devoured with fire. And that could be the two witnesses doing it. Now, this is amazing prophecy. Ashkelon shall see and fear Gaza. Well, most of the people in the last 70-something days have been evacuated out of Ashkelon because Gaza put so many rockets in there. The place is all busted up. Ashkelon shall see and fear Gaza. I would say that's fulfilled. They also had a small amount of infiltrators there, not so significant. Also, and be very sorrowful, and Ekron, for her expectations, shall be ashamed. Ekron was in the old Philistia, the Gaza, the old strip. So it's basically like part of Gaza. For her expectations shall be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza. Well, that's whoever's running the Hamas. And Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. Well, Ashkelon is quite a bit vacated right now. It might be 90 or 100%. They might be out of there. I don't know. And a bastard, and that word should be mamzer. Let's see what it is. Mamzer, yeah, it's bastard. And a mamzer shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. Now, Ashdod has also been evacuated because it's right close to the top of Gaza, and they got so many rockets. I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. Well, we're not there yet, but it's on its way, right? Isn't that stuff cool? And I will take away his blood out of his mouth, and his abominations from between his teeth. But he that remaineth, even he shall be for our Elohim, and he shall be as a chief in Judah, and Ekron as a Jebusite. So there's going to be some that remain, and they're going to turn to the Lord. Are they really lost Jews? Could be. Does not have to be, could be. And I will encamp about my house because of the army, because of him that passeth by, and because of him that returneth, and no oppressor shall pass through them anymore. For now have I seen with my eyes. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion, that's us. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding upon an ass, and upon the colt. This happened already. And I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim. That would be their war vessels. Not speaking of the 10 tribes, Ephraim. And the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow. Shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace. And the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace unto the heathen, and his dominion shall be from sea even to sea, and that could be the Dead Sea to the Mediterranean, the Sea of Galilee to the Mediterranean, or maybe more likely Persian Gulf to the Mediterranean. So, cut off the chariot from Ephraim. I would think we'd be thinking Humvees, tanks, things like that. And it doesn't say he's going to cut off Ephraim. And the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off, and he shall speak peace unto the heathen, and his dominion shall be from sea even to sea, and from the river even to the ends of the earth. Now, this is not for today. This is later on. Okay? As for thee also by the blood of thy covenant. Now this is very important. When the men get circumcised, blood comes out. Yeah? You got it? Okay. When the churches pray to receive Yeshua, does blood come out? No. When they do communion, is that the blood of the covenant? Could be. But I think it's more with the circumcision than that. I don't think it's communion. I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit. What the heck is that? It's really saying from the pit, and the word for pit is bor. Strong's number 953 in the Hebrew, which basically means a cistern, a prison, dungeon, a pit. This is the dry place that, well, when the beggar that sat outside the rich man's house eating the crumbs that fell off his table died, and he went to Abraham's bosom, and the rich guy went to the other side, separated by a chasm, and he said, send Abraham over here so he could dip his finger in water and put a drop of water on my tongue because it's so dry here. And Abraham said, no, you can't cross over, I'm not going to do it. So that would be the pit. That's probably where Yeshua came to preach when he was, when his body was in the grave and he went to preach down below. That's probably where he went. Because a lot of them will get out in Ezekiel 37 as the dry bones. We'll get there about that too. Also, and Hamad also shall border thereby Tyrus and Zidon, though it be very wise. And Tyrus, wait, I covered this already. The thing moved on me. Hold on. Blood of thy covenant have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit. There's nothing else I could imagine this is except the dry bones, guys. He's not doing releases from Alcatraz and San Quentin and stuff like that. That's not this. Wherein is no water. They got plenty of water in the prisons. Let's forget that. It's not the prisons. Don't go there. Turn you to the stronghold, that be Israel, you prisoners of hope. Why are they hoping? Because Yeshua preached to them. When he was in the grave, he went down there in the spirit, I suppose. You prisoners of hope, even today do I declare that I will render double unto you. Well, he says when he brings us back from the captivity after the 2,000 years of Hosea 6, 1 and 2, we get a double portion. That's the render double to you. So the thing to glean with this is after Zechariah 12 is over, they'll be coming back in the second Exodus too. Also, I should say. When I have bent Judah for me, filled the bow with Ephraim. He's talking about making war against nations with Judah and Ephraim, the 10 tribes. Ephraim's not yet here. But the dry bones would include Ephraim, would be Ephraim. And raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, which means the foreign nations, and made thee as the sword of a mighty man. Let's keep reading. And Jehovah shall be seen over them. Now, and his arrows shall go forth as the lightning. Now, what is his bow? When he puts his bow in the sky, what is that? That's the rainbow with the rains, right? That's his bow. So his arrow is probably pretty big. Shall go forth as the lightning, and Adonai Jehovah shall blow the trumpet and shall go with whirlwinds of the south. The south again. And Jehovah of armies shall defend them, speaking of Israel, and they shall devour and subdue with sling stones. Yeah, that's sounds like eternal life with us. Remember it says in Zechariah 12 that the feeble shall fight as David. What did David fight with? The sling stone. Goodbye, Goliath. They shall be filled like bowls. That's the Holy Spirit. He pours out his Spirit on them in Zechariah 12. They shall drink and make a noise as through wine, but they're not having wine. And it's as though as through wine, but that's not wine. And they shall be filled like bowls as the corners of the altar. Well, that's the Spirit, the Holy Spirit that gets poured out on them in Zechariah 12:10. Zechariah 12:10. And Jehovah Elohim shall save them in that day, that's Zechariah 12, as the flock of his people, for they shall be as the stones of a crown, lifted up as an ensign, a sign upon his land. A sign. Eternal life. Arise, shine, your light is come, will be glowing. For how great is his goodness, and how great is his beauty. Corn shall make the young men cheerful, and new wine the maids. Okay. Interesting, huh? We're going to go on more or less taught prophecies, okay? Ezekiel 35. Ezekiel 35. Let me go check. Whoops, where's one? Let me check the chat very quickly. Okay, we're all right. Ezekiel 35. Verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, and prophesy against it. So, the $1,000,000 question is, where the heck is Mount Seir, right? Mount Seir is in southeast Jordan, is where it is. And prophesy against it. I keep telling you, keep your eyes on Jordan, they're going to turn. And say unto it, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, or Lord Jehovah, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee. That's very bad for Mount Seir. And I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. Ooh, that's bad. I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Jehovah. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred, and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that they were in lawlessness had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith Jehovah, Adonai Jehovah, I will. Now it says here, the time of their calamity, in the time iniquity end. Iniquity is iniquity. Let's see the word end. That is probably down the road. The iniquity ends in the great day of the Lord, Ezekiel 38:39. So it's probably right then and there. It's probably not for today, but let's still keep our eyes on them, because Ammon may, which is today North Jordan, that may get it, and Edom is not in Jordan, and that may get it. So let's keep our eyes open. Therefore, as I live, saith Adonai Jehovah, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith? What the heck? This is the first time I saw this word. Aim. Sounds like the Star Wars movie, The Sith. Or something. Although thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. He's saying, it's sort of like you live by the sword, die by the sword. You live by the blood, you like the blood, you're going to get the blood. It's going to chase you. Thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain in thy hills, and in thy valleys, and in all thy rivers shall they fall, that are slain with the sword. I will make the perpetual desolations, and thy cities shall not return, and you shall know that I am Jehovah. Because thou hast said, these two nations, you see, he comes back and he kills his enemies like that were making fun of him, and they go right into the pit, but they know why they went into the pit before they went into the pit, which he doesn't always do. These two nations, because thou hast said, these two nations, says Israel and Judah, and these two countries, Israel and Judah, shall be mine, and we will possess it, whereas Jehovah was there. So they're deceived by Satan, and they think they got some great thing going with Satan. They don't understand. They don't understand the 2,000-year punishment on Israel in Hosea 6:1 and 2. I will even do according to thine anger, and according to thine enemy, which thou hast used out of the hatred against them, speaking of Israel, and I will make myself known among them when I have judged thee. Ooh, those are strong words. And thou shalt know that I am Jehovah, and that I have heard all thy blasphemies which thou hast spoken against the mountains of Israel, saying, they are laid desolate, they are given us to consume. Wow. For many centuries, they would chop wood out of the forests in Israel and use it for firewood, and they, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, never planted trees. That's why when we first got here in 48, we first got the place in 48, really, we started raising money all over the world to plant trees in Israel. And in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, people, since it used to be $1 a tree or something like that, and they planted so many trees. And now the trees are pretty big. Thus with your mouth ye have boasted against me, and have multiplied your words against me. I have heard them. You know, they're doing the Allah tap dance, you know. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, when the whole earth rejoiceth, I will make thee desolate. When does the whole earth rejoice? When the daughter of Babylon goes. So that probably means that it's actually going to happen in Zechariah 12:10 then. By then. Okay. There we go. So Israel will get rid of the lawlessness for a spell after Zechariah 12. But it'll come back some years later. So I guess that's what when the iniquity came to an end, I guess that's the reference really is Zechariah 12. Because when the world rejoices is when daughter of Babylon gets it. Not when Israel gets the land back. When the whole earth rejoices. But it could also mean, instead of the whole earth, call. Is that the word call? Wait, what happened here? Call, yeah. It could mean all the land, meaning Israel's rejoicing. Still the same thing, Zechariah 12. As thou didst rejoice at, if it's Zechariah 12, it could also be Ezekiel, Gog and Magog, but it's hard to get this one precise right now. I'll have to pray about it. Pray that we get it better. As thou didst rejoice. As thou didst rejoice at the inheritance of the house of Israel, because it was desolate, so will I do unto thee. Thou shalt be desolate, O Mount Seir, and all Edomia, even all of it, and they shall know that I am Jehovah. See, the thing is, you got to understand when he says that, that's frequently the last thing they know when they're walking around above ground is that he is Jehovah. Ezekiel 36:1. Also, thou son of man, prophesy unto the mountains, plural, of Israel, and say, you mountains of Israel, hear the word of the Lord. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because the enemy hath said against you, aha, even the ancient high places are ours in possession. Therefore, see, so then the implication would be, well, they think their God's greater than Jehovah. You got it? Therefore prophesy and say, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because they have made you desolate and swallowed you up on every side, that you might be a possession unto the residue of the heathen. And you are taken up in the lips of talkers, and are an infamy of the people. Therefore, you mountains of Israel, hear the word of Adonai Jehovah. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah to the mountains and to the hills, and to the rivers and to the valleys and to the desolate wastes, and to the cities that are forsaken, which became a prey and derision to the residue of the heathen. Ashdod, Ashkelon, Sederot, other cities in the south, cities by the Lebanese border, to the residue of the heathen that are round about. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, surely in the fire of my jealousy, notice he says fire, the fire of my jealousy have I spoken against the residue of the heathen. And against all Idumea, which have appointed my land into their possession, with the joy of all their heart, with despiteful minds, to cast it out for a prey. Prophesy therefore concerning the land of Israel, and say unto the mountains, and to the hills, and to the rivers, and to the valleys, thus saith the Lord. Thus saith the Lord God, Adonai Jehovah. Behold, I have spoken in my jealousy and in my fury, because you have borne the shame of the heathen. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, I have lifted up my hand. Surely the heathen that are about you, they should bear their shame. But you, O mountains of Israel, you shall shoot forth your branches, and yield your fruit to my people Israel, for they are at hand to come. That's today. They're at hand to come. The crops have been pretty generous the last year or two. For behold, I am for you, and I will turn unto you, and you shall be tilled and sown, and I will multiply men upon you. That's, buy diapers and 40-foot trailer sizes. And all the house of Israel, even all of it, and the cities shall be inhabited, and the wastes shall be builded. And I will multiply upon you man and beast. You hear that, Yaffa? You'll be having litters. And they shall increase and bring fruit. And I will settle you after your old estates, and will do better unto you than at your beginnings. And you shall know that I am Jehovah. Better than your beginnings, it's the double portion. You getting this stuff? See, let's say you got a herd of 25 cows, and he starts giving them great health, extended years, and they reproduce like crazy. So, I don't know, maybe in 4 or 5 years, you got 160 or 200. You get rich real easy that way. Get it? Yea, I will cause men to walk upon you, even my people Israel, and they shall possess thee, and thou shalt be their inheritance. Inheritance comes in a Jubilee year of redemption. Your inheritance is redeemed. Doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing. Year of redemption is something different. Could be the same thing, but doesn't have to be. And thou shalt no more henceforth bereave them of men. So the men aren't going to get wiped out in wars anymore. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, because they say unto you, thou land devourest up men, and hast bereaved thy nation. Speaking about the history of all the people getting killed in Israel over the years, right? Therefore thou shalt devour men no more, neither bereave thy nations any more, saith Adonai Jehovah. And the word for nations is the heathen. Goyim means heathen. Neither will I cause men to hear in thee the shame of the Goyim, heathen, any more, neither shalt thou bear the reproach of the people. That word is people, not heathen. It's anymore. Neither shalt thou cause thy nations, thy Goyim, to fall anymore, saith Adonai Jehovah. He's speaking to the land and the mountains, the rivers. Moreover, the word of Jehovah came unto me, saying, verse 17, Son of man, when the house of Israel dwelt in their own land, they defiled it by their own way, and by their doings their way was before me as the uncleanness of a removed woman. Wherefore I poured, menstruating woman, wherefore I poured my fury upon them for the blood that they had shed upon the land, and for their idols wherewith they had polluted it. And I scattered them among the heathen, the Goyim, and they were dispersed through the countries according to their way and according to their doings. I judged them. So I guess he was deciding who goes to what countries. Some countries were worse than others. Think 1939 Germany, for instance, and Russia with Stalin and so forth. And when they entered in unto the heathen, whither they went, you see, they thought October 7th was going to turn out like, Kristallnacht Day or some horrible event in Nazi Germany where they could get away with it. And look what happened to them, and it ain't over yet. And when they entered unto the heathen, whither they went, they profaned my holy name. Well, they run around and they do Kabbalah and they have horrible practices, my holy name, when they said to them, these are the people of Jehovah and are gone forth out of his land. But I had pity for my holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the Goyim, whither they went. So he's saying when he sent them out into captivity, they were profaning the name of the Lord because they were his people and they were conducting practices that were evil. Really bad, defiling practices. Therefore say unto the house of Israel, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, I do not do this for your sakes, O house of Israel, but for my holy name's sake, which you have profaned among the heathen, whither you went. You see, the church world will frequently say, when Israel turns to Christ, well then, they'll get saved and get repentance. But the Bible's saying he just drops it on them to so they profaned among the heathen. So God saves them for his name's sake to show he is Jehovah. But he can't do this until the 2,000-year punishment of Hosea 6:1 and 2 is up. And we're in the year of recompenses, so it's coming to an end pretty quickly. And in the year of recompenses, before that, he wouldn't punish. He turned us over into the hands of our enemies. Now he's punishing them. Look at Gaza. They've been well punished so far, but it's not the end. And I will sanctify my great name, which was profaned among the heathen, which you have profaned in the midst of them. See, the heathen think that Satan's God now, which God created him. He's not God. Which you have profaned in the midst of them, and the heathen shall know that I am Jehovah, saith Adonai Jehovah, when I shall be sanctified in you before their eyes. For I will take you from among the For I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. That's the second Exodus. Then will I sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean from all your filthiness and from all your idols. I will cleanse you. So where do you see this? You see it in Zechariah 13, which is connected to 12. Remember, the chapter numbers and verse numbers are artificially put in by the publishers and stuff. Zechariah 13:1. In that day there shall be a fountain open to the house of David and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem for sin and for uncleanness. You got it? So you go back to Ezekiel 36:25. Then I will sprinkle clean water upon you, and you shall be clean from all your filthiness and from all your idols. And will I cleanse you? That seems to me it's the same thing. A new heart also will I give you. That's Jeremiah 31:31. This is your new body. This is the eternal life body, the incorruptible body. A new heart. He's not sending you in for surgery where they're going to do heart transplants. Come on, that's ridiculous. A new heart also will I give you, and a new spirit will I put within you. I think those of us that are saved and have the Holy Spirit, it's the same Holy Spirit. I don't think we have to worry about that. He's talking about getting the unclean spirits out of the people. So a new spirit, not the old unclean spirits, but a new spirit. The Holy Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh. And I will take away the stony heart out of your flesh, and I will give you a heart of flesh. Sounds to me like this is the new body. And when you have this thing, when you have the eternal life, because remember, they see the one whom they have pierced in Zechariah 12:10. Previous to that, they have the Holy Spirit poured out on them. So they're believers. In the same verse, actually, it's the beginning of the verse, Zechariah 12:10. John 6:40, when it says, when you look upon the one, when you look upon Yeshua, you'll have eternal life. And that's the appearing of the Son of Man, the rising of the Son of Righteousness in Malachi 4. The appearing of the Son of Man like lightning from the east to the west in Matthew 24. That's not the second coming. The people are not taught there's an appearing and then second coming some many years later. I will give you a heart of flesh. So we're not going to be warring against the spirit with this new body. When you see Yeshua, you shall be like him. And they saw him. So we're going to have a very easy walk. Very easy. And I will put my spirit within you and cause you to walk in my statutes. It's easy to do that. That's easy. And you shall, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier than giving place to the devil and having to fight that schmuck and his minions. It is. It really is. And, you know, keeping the law is not hard. And you shall keep my judgments and do them. And you shall dwell in the land that I gave. Yeah, it means you got to punish the ones that deviate. You shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers, and you shall be my people, and I will be your God. Your Elohim. I will also save you from all your uncleanness. Think how nice that is. And I will call for the corn and will increase it. Remember, the young man get pleasure from the corn. I will increase it and lay no famine upon you. And I will multiply the fruit of thy tree, yum yum, eat eat, and the increase of the field, yum yum, eat eat, and you shall receive no more reproach of famine among the heathen, the goyim. Then shall you remember your own evil ways and your doings that were not good, and shall loathe yourself in your own sight for your iniquities, lawlessness, and for your abominations. That's Zechariah 12, right after they looked upon the one whom they had pierced, and they're changed, of course. They're like Yeshua, and then they mourn. All the houses of Israel apart mourn for him for what their fathers did. They feel so bad and ashamed and everything. That's what this is. Not for your sakes do I this, saith Adonai Yehovah. Be it known unto you, be ashamed and confounded for your own ways, O house of Israel. Their own ways, what they did. Their ancestors killed the Messiah. They've been blaspheming him for centuries, calling him a mamzer, a bastard, saying he was no prophet. It's in their Talmud, saying he was no prophet, no son of God, never rose from the dead. They've been preaching all that. Thus saith Adonai Yehovah, in the day that I shall have cleansed you from all your iniquities, I will also cause you to dwell in the cities, and the wastes shall be builded, and the desolate land shall be filled. Whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. And they shall say, this land that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden. Remember in I think it's the book of Joel, there's an invasion of the enemy, which is really the bugs. And in front it looks like the Garden of Eden, and then behind it looks like it's all burned up. That's the invading locusts and palmer worms and all that stuff. The locusts predominantly, I would think, if I remember correctly. that was desolate is become like the Garden of Eden, and the waste and desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. Then the heathen that are left round about. Now, round about, Zechariah 12:6, the two witnesses, the two chiefs, the two governors is the King James word, burn up the enemies round about on the right hand and the left hand. You see what it is? This is how you learn prophecy. Our left, right, you got to put all the pieces from the different prophets together, and then the puzzle gets complete, or almost complete in some cases, but you get better vision of it. Our left roundabout, you shall know that I, Jehovah, build the ruined places, plant and plant that desolate. I, Jehovah, have spoken it, and I will do it. That's it. It's the same as reality when that happens. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, it is reality. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, I will yet for this. No, the English is so choppy. I will yet for this be inquired of by the house of Israel to do for them. I will increase them with men like a flock. As the holy flock, as the flock of Jerusalem in her solemn feasts. So shall the waste cities be filled with flocks of men. And they shall know that I am Jehovah. Jeremiah 31:31. They shall not teach each man to know the Lord, for they shall all know me from the least to the greatest. So you got to learn this stuff so you can just smack it together like that, and then it really helps. Stop for a minute here. I got a few more good tidbits for you. I'm going to take a break for a minute. We'll come back, and I got a few more goodies for you. How many people know what's going to happen to Yemen? You do. And Lebanon. And Gaza. And Jordan. And Edom. And Moab. And Ammon. And America. And all the nations he scattered the Israelites into. You know more than they do. You know, it says in the Bible, I will curse those that curse you and bless those that bless you. And you wonder why people do, espouse false believers, do bad stuff to you, and nothing that bad happens to them. Sure, you can toss them, but that's really getting the unclean spirits, not really getting them. No. So, why does that go on? What is with this? Well, he will curse them. They'll be cut off soon. They'll be in the pit, then they'll be in the lake of fire. But he's not going to instill the fear of the Lord in them now, because they're evil and wicked and they like doing the bad things they do. They enjoy it. They enjoy working with the devil, so they get to be with him for eternity. And if he really did stuff to create the fear of the Lord in them, they would turn to him and be healed. And they would just fall away again. They're no good. They're not right for this. They're bad figs that can't be eaten. You can't do anything with them. They're so bitter. They're so mean and rotten. They're in love with money. Mammon is their God. They love it. They love perversion. They love lying. Loveth and maketh a lie. They love that. They can't be in the kingdom. They're the tares. They look like the wheat, but they're not. Let them grow up together. And the angels are going to be cutting them off. You're going to see the end of all these false religions very shortly. And the beast down the road, when he comes up out of the pit, which will be after Gog and Magog, which is after Zechariah 12, he switches over to idolatry. God lets them put life into an inanimate statue, and it can talk, and they worship it. That's idolatry. That's Satan's real love. Sure, he uses false believers today, but his real love is getting people to worship sticks and stones. Yeah, the church does that with the big crosses up at the front of the auditorium. And they come up there and they kneel down and pray to it. That's worshiping wood. It's not a biblical concept. And they have the Christmas trees of Jeremiah 10 that they decorate with gold and silver, a tree cut out of the forest, and they put a stand at the base. And they put, pentagrams on it, stars, and they put, images of angels on there, and, then they go out on the lawn and they put images of Satan Claus with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and all this other stupid stuff, and they think they're the church. Do you? Does that sound like a real church? It's a joke. They go so far as to do singing Christmas trees. They worship Christmas and they don't understand that they took the words and just changed them. It should say Mass for Christ. And that's a Catholic practice, and what it specifically means is every time they hold Mass for Christ, they're dragging him from heaven. The Catholics say that Yeshua has no ability to resist, and they re-crucify him again. Every time they hold Mass, they're re-crucifying him. So when you celebrate Christmas and send Christmas cards and get a Christmas tree and give your kids Christmas presents and your friends and your family, you're celebrating the concept, of course it's not real, but they say it is, of dragging Yeshua down from heaven and re-crucifying him over and over and over. Of course, there's no scriptural basis for this. It's nonsense. It's a fairy tale, but they do it. And that's his sin. Now, I hope you guys don't celebrate such a pagan horribleness, a big mockery of Yeshua. Zephaniah 2:3. Zephaniah, PH. Seek you, Jehovah, all you men of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. Maybe ye shall be hid in the day of the Lord's anger. Okay? That's not a rapture. It doesn't sound like a rapture to me. It doesn't say, you shall be raised up to heaven for 7 years in the day or before the day of the Lord's anger. It doesn't say anything like that. Shall be hid. He'll deliver you from the wrath to come. The next verse, Zephaniah 2:4. For Gaza shall be forsaken. Oh, forgot. Nothing. It's just, isn't that what's happening now? And Ashkelon a desolation. Pretty much now. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron, which is also Gaza type thing, a place in Gaza, shall be rooted up. Rooted up as in dig up the tunnels? I think Ekron could be by Gaza City. I don't know. Maybe. Woe unto the inhabitants of the sea coast, the nation of the Cherethites. The word of that is probably Gaza. Let me check. It's a word that could mean a murderer like a sicario in Spanish, or it could mean a bodyguard. Murderer. That sure sounds like the seacoast of Gaza. The word of Jehovah is against you, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines. Ooh. I will even destroy thee, that there shall be no inhabitant. And the seacoast shall be dwellings and cottages for shepherds and folds for flock. And the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed thereupon in the houses of Ashkelon. That's right on top of Gaza in the north, near the Mediterranean. Shall they lie down in the evening, for Jehovah Elohim shall visit them and turn away their captivity. I have heard the reproach of Moab, that's probably Jordan, and the reviling of the children of Ammon, that's Jordan, whereby they have reproached my people, Israel, and magnified themselves against their border. Therefore, as I live, say that's a friend of America that they put their military in right now. Therefore, as I live, saith Jehovah of armies, the God of Israel, not the God of the church, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, ooh, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah. Even the breeding of nettles and salt pits, and a perpetual desolation. The residue of my people shall spoil them. We're the residue of his people. And the remnant of my people shall possess them. They'll be slaves, basically. And spoil them means get the wealth. It's a lot of wealth in Jordan. It's an oil-producing country. There's a lot of wealth. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of Jehovah of hosts. They were always screaming about the Temple Mount and stuff like that. Jehovah were always trying to tell us what to do and all that. Jehovah will be terrible unto them. You know what a heavy statement that is? It's really heavy. For he will famish all the gods of the earth. That means the Hindu woman with the 8 arms and the other 9,000 gods they have, or whatever it is, it may be 90,000, you know. The Islam, the Catholic business, all of this stuff. The other Jesus in the churches, the Buddha rub his belly thing, you know, all of this. He will famish all the gods of the earth, and men shall worship him, every one from his place, even all the isles, all the different islands of the heathen. You Ethiopians, or ye Ethiopians, you shall be slain by my sword. And he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria. That's kind of going up and over a little to the right. I think Iraq is in there. And destroy and will make Nineveh, that's in Iraq, a desolation, and dry like a wilderness. And flocks shall lie down in the midst of her. All the beasts of the nations, all the beasts, chayot, let's see what this word is. Chay, yeah, it's animals. You could, well, all the living, it's not necessarily beasts. Wait. Chayot is animals. Chay is living. It doesn't mean beasts. Wait. Why are they saying it's beasts? It could mean a beast, I guess. Probably is, because it says beasts of the Goyim, both the cormorant and the bittern shall lodge in the upper lintels of it. Their voice shall sing in the windows. Desolation shall be in the thresholds, for he shall uncover the cedar work. This is the rejoicing city that dwelleth carelessly, that said in her heart, I am and there is none. That's Washington, D.C. None beside me. It's right out of Isaiah 47. How is she become a desolation, a place for beasts to lie down in? Every one that passeth by her shall hiss and wag his hands. So you didn't know the destruction of the daughter of Babylon is in Zephaniah 2. I don't mean T-O-O, Zephaniah chapter 2. Just to be clear. Zechariah 10:35. Something's not right here. Hold on, I got it written wrong, I think. Go back to my notes. I typoed. Let me see if I could figure out what I did wrong. Oh no, it's just Zechariah chapter 10. No, I think. This is a good one. Let me give you this one. We know we talk about the 2,000 years of Hosea 6:10. And we talk about the nation of Israel going into the birth pangs and then the travail, which is the actual birth process when they cuts their guts out of fear, Jacob's trouble, Jeremiah 30, and then they get saved out of it. And that's your Zechariah 12 when the nations surround Judah and Jerusalem and lay siege to it. So, but nobody gets a sprained ankle in that battle from Israel anyway. The others don't do well at all. So the women, the length of a pregnancy, they usually talk about it in weeks. It's 40 weeks. I've actually never been pregnant, to tell you the truth. But I once was trapped in a woman's body. I felt like I was really trapped in a woman's body, but what happened then is my mother gave birth. My humor. Okay, so if we take the 40 weeks, and this is just curiously interesting, and we put a jubilee, we make the 40 weeks into 40 jubilees, you get about 2,000 years out of it. I don't know how great an interpretation that is, but it's pretty interesting. Anyway, Lot escapes out of a city. He gets out of Sodom. He gets out of, Sodom. Genesis 19:20-22. Let's read it. Behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one, and my soul shall live? And he said unto me, see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for the which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. This is sort of a type of getting out of the daughter of Babylon. And what is the little city you come to? Jerusalem. And he won't destroy the place completely till you get out of there. Interesting. Zechariah 10:6-7. And I will strengthen the house of Judah, and I will save the house of Joseph, and I will bring them again to place them, for I have mercy For I have mercy upon them, and they shall be as though I had not cast them off. For I am Jehovah Elohim, and will hear them. That means hear our prayers. And they of Ephraim, the 10 tribes, shall be like a mighty man, and their heart shall rejoice as though wine. Yea, their children shall see it and be glad. Their heart shall rejoice in the Lord. I will hiss for them and gather them, for I have redeemed them, your redemption. 2nd Exodus. And they shall increase as they have increased. Deuteronomy 11:24. Every place whither the soles of your feet shall tread shall be yours, from the wilderness and Lebanon, from the river Euphrates, even unto the uttermost sea shall your coast be. Interesting. Isaiah 28:14. Wherefore, hear the word of the Lord, you scornful men that rule this people, which is in Jerusalem. Well, that's talking about our government and the curse of Israel, old Benji. Because you have said, we have made a covenant with death and with hell. Now that's the lies and the games that Satan plays with these jerks, and they believe it. We have made a covenant with death and with hell. It's absurd. And we at agreement, when the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us, for we have made lies our refuge. Yeah, that's true. It's easy to see. And under falsehood have we hid ourselves. Falsehood have we hid ourselves. That's what's going on. The world leaders, pretty much, for all of them. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Yehovah, but it's specifically talking about the leaders of Israel now. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Yehovah, behold, I lay in Zion for a foundation, a stone, a tried stone, a precious cornerstone, a sure foundation. He that believeth shall not make haste. Make haste. Shall not hurry? Okay. Judgment also will I lay to the line, and righteousness to the plummet, and the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies. This is interesting. The hail. The hail. Barad. It really means hail. That's it. It doesn't have other meanings. And the hail shall sweep away the refuge of lies, and the waters shall overflow the hiding places. And your covenant with death shall be disannulled, and your agreement with hell shall not stand. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, then you shall be trodden down by it. That's interesting. Now, what is the scourge? It's like a whipping implement, a lash. Probably the two witnesses. The wicked shall be ashes under your feet, trodden down by it. The scourge is probably the witnesses. From the time that it goeth forth, it shall take you. For morning by morning shall it pass over, by day and by night, and it shall be a vexation only to understand the report. For that people aren't going to understand what happened. It sounded more like the two witnesses. For the bed is shorter than a man can stretch himself on it, and the covering narrower than he can wrap himself in. So you imagine you're sleeping in a bed that's too short, you got to keep your knees and everything bent, and you have a blanket that's too small to wrap yourself in. For the Lord shall rise up as in Mount Perazim, he shall be wroth as in the valley of Gibeon, that he may do his work, his strange work. Yep, to us it is. And to the world it is, not so much us anymore. And bring to pass his act, his strange act. How therefore be you not mockers, lest your bands be made strong? For what bands is that? Bind them hand and foot and put them in the pit until the judgment in Matthew 13. For I have heard from Adonai Yehovah of armies a consumption even determined upon the whole earth. And what is that consumption? Jeremiah 30 verse 11. He will destroy all the nations he dispersed the Israelites into, which is got to be, I guess, 125 or more countries. Could be a lot more. It's really interesting how much you can dig out of the scriptures. And if you know how to put the prophecies together, you could really start getting great confirmations and everything. Well, let me check the chat. One other thing I can bring up, this is sort of like a weak one, but it's interesting. Lot's wife, they were told not to look back. She was leaving Sodom. She might have liked the debauchery, the revelings, the rave parties, the sexual perversions thereof and all of that. She might have liked it. Or she liked living there, and she looked back on it, and she was turned into a pillar of salt. Now, Lot was like leaving the daughter of Babylon getting burned up. Sodom got burned up like Gomorrah, and so will America. He will kindle fires around the cities. Daughter of Babylon, Jeremiah 50:51. So there is some similarity. Those of you that survived the sword with Zion come to mind, and he tells you, I think, 9 times in Jeremiah 50:51 to get out of the daughter of Babylon. And the people come out in, this is the second Exodus, the harvest of the daughter of Babylon. And they go into, which is the same second Exodus, or in very close timing thereof. and they go to the wilderness and they pass under the rod, enter the bond of the covenant, and then come into Israel. So, they had to flee Sodom, and Gomorrah was nearby country. It had to get out of both, so Lot said, let me go to this little city. So it's kind of like coming to little city Israel, a little country Israel, coming out of America. This place is small. And so she looked back and died. So some of you have spouses that are probably not going to want to come on the second Exodus. Some may start to come and then look back and not come, and some will just refuse. And that's that. When they're dead, you'll be under no obligation. You'll get your body with incorruptible flesh, and you could go about having new children. Cynical, I know, but truthful as well. I don't have a lot of sympathy for the evil ones, honestly. Call it a shortcoming or whatever you might call it. I don't know. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll keep watching and seeing what goes on. I think we got a few days before. Well, they may start today shooting when the Houthis do something to attack a ship, but there may not be any ships there anymore. So how are they going to do this if there's no ships, which is likely the case, no maritime civilian vessels? The Houthis may not bother shooting at the warships because they're just going to return fire to the launch site of the attack on the ship, which their radar will pick up. And their reconnaissance AWACS will pick up and all that. So they just do nothing. Then what happens? Will the Americans just start bombing their missile sites? And I don't know. I don't think Biden will do that. I don't know. It might. Let's say they do that. Then the Houthis will start opening up on them, and it'll start. So that might happen. Or the Houthis might just say, let's just wait them out. And we won't attack their Navy warships, and just we put mines in the sea and just ignore them until they leave. I don't know if they'll do that. I think they're very interested in helping Gaza, so they probably won't do that. But we'll see what happens. As the days unfold, you'll see America make many mistakes. It'll appear to America as mistakes, but a lot of bad things will be happening to America no matter which way she turns and twists. It'll get worse and worse and worse. There's no good thing America can do. Won't work out. And remember, Jeremiah 30, verse 11, has not been fulfilled because it can't be fulfilled until the dispersion is over. That's the second Exodus, when just before the second Exodus comes, then he could do the destruction, because there's not going to be any more further dispersion of the Jews. So then he can destroy the nations. He couldn't have done it 1,000 years ago, or 50 years ago, or 25 years ago, but he can do it now. So don't let them deceive you. I look every day to see who's preaching the real gospel. I don't see it. I don't see it. I wish there was 10,000 doing it, but I don't see it. they take a truth and they put a lie to it to make it bad fruit from a bad tree. For instance, Elijah's one of the two witnesses. Well, they can't get around that, and then they say, "So's Enoch" or "So's Moses." It's ridiculous. Why would you think Enoch is? Because God took him from living right to heaven, so that makes him a witness. Why would you say that? Moses is selected unto man to die only once, and then the judgment. So he already died once. He can't be a witness because they die. They break scripture, yet they all run around saying it's okay. They defy God. They don't care. They want to show that they could teach lies and nothing happens to them. So when you pair Moses or the wrong one to Elijah for the two witnesses, you're telling a lie. It's Apostle John. It says he must prophesy again. Yeshua said there be one standing here among you that shall not taste of death till they see the kingdom of God. You know, it's him. It's Apostle John. But they refuse it. If you look long and hard enough, you'll find, maybe as many as 2, 3, 4 people out there other than me that'll say the same thing. Did they pick it up from me? No, I don't think so. I think they figured it out themselves. But then when I look at the rest of the doctrine, it's, rapture, preacher of rapture, all kinds of nonsense. Let me see if I could do one more thing. I want to show you the guy that comes around doing the abomination and make it desolate in Daniel 11. Daniel 11:33, and they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword and by flame, by captivity, and by spoil many days. This is before, not today. Now when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help. It's captivity. This is over, 1948, I believe it pretty much was over. But many shall cleave to them with fire. It could be some in the captivity that aren't in Israel that this could happen to. It could happen. I'm not expecting it though. And some of them of understanding shall fall to try them and to purge and to make them white even to the time of the end. Then that's not getting killed, because it is yet for a time appointed. And the king shall do according to his will, and he shall exalt himself and magnify himself above every god, and shall speak marvelous things against the God of gods, and shall prosper till the indignation be accomplished, for that is determined shall be done. Neither shall he regard the God of his fathers. Now that doesn't mean he's Jewish. Nor the desire of women. Now that doesn't mean he's a homosexual either. He just doesn't care about women. Nor regard any God, for he shall magnify himself above all. But in his estate shall he honor the God of forces, and a God whom his father knew not shall be honored. What if his father was, a Buddhist or a Hindu? Why do you say he's Jewish? And a God whom his fathers knew not shall he honor with gold and silver and with precious stones and pleasant things. Thus shall he do in the most strongholds with a strange God, whom he shall acknowledge and increase with glory, and he shall cause them to rule over many, and shall divide the land for gain. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south, that could be Negeb, push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. He shall enter into the countries and shall overthrow and pass over. Now this is this big bad dude. Notice there's no false prophet here. There's no talking statue. There's no mark of the beast to buy or sell. There's no one getting their head cut off and not taking the mark and so forth. And the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind, with chariots and with horsemen and with many ships. And he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over. He shall enter also into the glorious land, and many countries shall be overthrown. Okay, so he enters into Israel, we know that. Many countries will be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hand. Edom, Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon. He shall stretch forth his hand also upon the countries, and the land of Egypt shall not escape. But he shall have power over the treasures of gold and of silver, and over all the precious things of Egypt, and the Libyans and the Ethiopians shall be at his stead. But tidings out of the east shall, and out of the north shall trouble him, therefore he shall go forth with great fury to destroy and utterly to make away many. And they shall plant the tabernacle, and he shall plant the tabernacle of his palace between the seas in the glorious holy mountain. Well, between the seas could be between the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee, or it could be between the Dead Sea and the Mediterranean, which would put him like in Jerusalem, and I think that's Mount Zion. He shall plant his tabernacle of his palace between the seas. So in glorious holy mountain, and this is not him in the temple in the holiest of holies at all. Yet he shall come to his end, and none shall help him. And that's the great day of the Lord. That's your Gog and Magog. Okay? That's your book of Joel. That's your Ezekiel 8 to 11, and that's what you really should study. And that's Zechariah 14. This is all this, and that's the whole big deal with this dude. The beast never comes to our temple in Jerusalem, and the tribulation with him is on the nations. Because after the Gog and Magog war, the great day of the Lord, the nations have to go up to worship the Lord on the Feast of Tabernacles, and if they don't go up, they get no rain. No rain means famine. That means they can control the food, the little food they have left, which means you got to take the mark of the beast to buy and sell. So you can't sell or buy food unless you're with them, and that's what's going on. So, you know, the church makes no sense. Ugh. All right. The doctrines fall apart with Scripture. South Carolina, huh? The scroll, you mean the seven thunders, right? Okay. That's what I got for today. So I'm Moshe. My wife's Rivka. Please pray for us. My wife's getting better. She seemed to have lost her voice yesterday, but it's pretty much back. You could pray for her voice and her throat to continue healing. So pray for me and my wife Rivka's healing, and keep praying for my hernia. Stuff's happening. And pray for my abdominal condition. Some days are better than others. I get backed up in my system. But I'm working on that real hard with dietary things, plums and figs and what's the other one I'm eating? Dates and all this stuff, Taking magnesium. I'm going to start adding probiotics in. I think that might also help. So pray for me and my wife Rivka for our peace, safety, protection, joy, healing of our bodies. Pray for our finances. Thank you guys for the offerings and offering informations in the description box. And we could take PayPal. Just send me an email. My email's at the bottom of the description box, the last line down, and in the chat. It's israelgiving with the number 7 at gmail.com. Just send me an email, and I'll send you the PayPal link. And then if some of you like PayPal, it's easy to do that. And I don't like putting the link up because then I get all kinds of junk mail and everything. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Pray for the animals and pets that were all rescues. They'd be happy, healthy, and whole. Tikva could use some prayer to stop plucking his feathers. Tikva was a forced rescue. My wife's known for having a parrot refuge. So he's a parrot. He's a cockatoo, but the small ones, the sweet ones. And some crazy person had him and was using him to beg money on the streets. And she was abusing him. So birds at times get taken away from people by force, and they wind up here because they're doing animal abuse. Israel doesn't put up with animal abuse. So he wound up here, and he's still plucking his feathers. He's much better, but he had so much trauma from this crazy person, And he's not a baby, so they don't come out of it that quick. But he's really a nice guy. He really is. He's really a nice bird, but he went through a lot. And sometimes we saw this with another bird that's still here that we rescued. It takes a year or even more for them to forget all of the trauma and bounce out of it. And some of these birds like conures, they can live 20 to 40 years. These parrots go a long time, So appreciate the prayers, and I'm sure Tifa appreciates the prayers, and we'll pray for better videos, and we'll keep updating you on the war on Telegram mostly, but also here, and watching very avidly, and as things develop, I'm sure I'll pick it up and post it on Telegram and then talk about it on YouTube. So it's going to be interesting. Right now is a little bit of lull before the next storm. They're finishing off Hamas. You notice we didn't get any red alerts during the whole live stream. Yeah, see there, Hamas's capability to launch missiles is way the heck down. And it's going to come down to flatline nothing. And they're taking a lot, the greatest scheme of things, taking a lot of prisoners of war would be like getting 15, 20,000 in a day or something like that. But some days they might get 100. That's surrender, and that helps. That helps. There's still, I'm sure, have 45,000 strong. But how many of them went to the south and then snuck into Egypt? I don't know. So they might only have 35,000 or something. I don't know. We'll find out. It'll all come to an end. Hamas is doomed. And that's what I got, guys. And I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I'm out.